backdate this one. I got to say yesterday's date, which is something I'm not used to doing. Usually I'm saying tomorrow's date. All right. It's Wednesday, February 19th, 2020. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geek Nights. Tonight, ride your wave. Some of you who are watching the live stream might notice that we actually are recording this episode live on Thursday because the movie was in theaters in the United States one night only, and it happened to be last night on Wednesday when we normally would have recorded the show.
So why couldn't it be Tuesday?
Yep.
They clearly are not scheduling their theater showings around Geek Nights.
I feel like I need to send them a press release and a notification, like just so you
all
know.
one night only anime screenings
Must be on Tuesdays.
must not be on Wednesdays.
They must be on alternating Tuesdays.
Yes.
I can provide them a schedule.
Here is the days you are allowed to schedule a one night only United States subtitled anime screening.
You know, maybe just because I watched the movie an infinite number of times as a child and I still love it. But whenever I hear anyone say one night only, all I can think of is the Blues Brothers.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're only thinking about that because they were advertising their other limited screenings.
Which I'm going to go see the Blues Brothers in the theater because the Blues Brothers is one of those movies for me that is on that very rare list. God, I talk about this a lot. There's like a handful of works of art, like mostly movies, TV, that I can just watch any number of times. Like if I walk into someone's house and it's on TV, I'll just start watching it until it ends.
And then what if it's on repeat and it repeats before the credits roll?
Yep. Like
it just immediately, as soon as the credits, it just immediately starts again.
Yep. Like Empire Strikes Back, that'll do it to me. The Blues Brothers will do it to me.
You'll just be trapped.
Yep.
Right? You don't need to make a pit trap.
Yep. You want to kill me and Scott in a dungeon? Just have the Matrix on a random TV in a dungeon.
Right.
We'll just stop.
You don't need to make like one of those like a sarcophagus kind of shaped thing with a lock on it.
Yep.
You don't need to do any kind of D&D. Like you don't need like a rope, a noose trap with a cake in it where your foot gets stuck and now you're hanging. Like in Return of the Jedi where they're hanging and then the Ewoks come. You don't need to make any of those traps.
Or like in the Simpsons season
you can have an
4?
open field, an open grass field with a giant projector, and as long as you power the projector and keep playing movies that are in the right category back to back, we will sit there and not leave as long as their food keeps coming and the weather doesn't get shitty.
Oh, Iron Monkey does it to me.
I'm just saying, there's a you didn't see the unedited Iron Monkey.
No, I did not. I gotta correct that.
It's slightly edited.
Yeah. Okay.
It's basically still the same movie.
But so I have a brief story, an opening bit from my life. Because remember, some time ago, we had to go to the hospital because randomly this torchlight lamp that had a tempered glass top, the top just exploded and showered us in like broken glass at high velocity. It sounded like a bomb went off, and that was the whole story.
Okay.
So early this morning, I get up.
If only you could somehow say which Geek Nights episode that was the opening bit for.
I could probably find it. I think I even said something about it in the show notes.
All right.
I can go look at my hospital records for when I went to the hospital.
Okay.
So, anyway, this morning I'm showering, and I hear a loud crash, and then a bunch of follow-up debris noises happen while I'm showering.
Okay.
It's loud enough to where it was either in our apartment and a problem or in someone else's apartment and a big problem. So I did what all good people do is I paused for a second. I just kept showering because I'm going to finish my shower and then go see what hell awaits me in the real world.
If there isn't screaming from people in your apartment where you need to call a 911 or a 10 or something like that, then you can continue with your shower.
Yep.
No alarms going on.
But then there's a knock on the door, and Emily just says, "Hey, so my mirror exploded."
Okay, which mirror? You got a lot of mirrors, I bet. I have quite a few mirrors.
The ones that came with the apartment and are built, like the ones on the medicine cabinets that are built into the fixtures in the apartment.
So in the bathroom above the sink.
Yep, like
there's
mounted.
a mirror on a medicine cabinet.
Yep.
And that
the glass mirror part popped off and exploded.
So the mirror was not well attached to the cabinet. It was not that the cabinet door fell off.
Nope.
It was that there was a mirror attached to the cabinet, and that mirror popped off the front of the cabinet, fell, like hit the sink, I imagine, and shattered. And then the second shattering you heard was against the ground.
Yep, that was basically it. Now, what's funny is last night, I remember, because Emily was like, weird. I was like, what? And she was like, my bathroom, like, medicine cabinet door just opened itself. And she'd closed it, and it was fine. I guess what had happened is it must have, like, started to come off just enough
that
to,
the
like...
weight
the
shifted,
weight distribution was
and
weird.
then it undid whatever magnet or thing fastener it has to keep itself closed.
So today,
Usually a magnet.
I worked from home in the afternoon, and the super and a bunch of people came to, like, deal with it, because I explained to them what happened, and they, like, didn't understand. They were like, that can't... What do you mean? So then they came in, and one of them's like, oh. And the super's like, how the fuck did that happen?
Well, I saw the photo. I didn't go in there yet, mostly because I don't want to risk
It's all fixed. Like, it's like nothing ever happened.
Well, I don't want to step on any glass, though.
Yeah, so I got a 99%
I'll
of
wait
the
for you
glass.
to step on the glass.
So I'm still finding...
The point is, in the photo you showed me, I saw that beneath the mirror there were 3 patches. It looked like that mirror was held on with 3 spots of glue. Vertically on the
left side.
On the left side. Not even like well distributed. They didn't even do like I would have done at least like a 5, like the 5 pips on a D6 on when you roll a 5.
Or you
at
do
least
the box with the X.
Right, or you could do 9. 9 would be sensible, right? Maybe you don't want to use too much.
But
glue.
I don't actually know what that was, because this is like a thing made in a factory and pressed together. Probably by a machine.
Yeah, definitely. The building people didn't put that together.
Yeah.
They unboxed them and they attached them to the wall.
So they put in a brand new door and everything, because they're not going to like try to replace like the mirror.
No,
because
they try to stick a new mirror on it. First of all, they don't have a mirror just lying around, but they probably have a spare cabinet lying around.
So then they went to all the other, because there's four of these things in our apartment. They went to each one and like poked at it, and they're like, yeah. I don't see any way this could happen to any of these other ones.
My guess it was probably a combination of, humidity changes and hot-cold changes.
Coupled with manufacturing
expanding,
defects.
contraction, cheap stuff. It's not like they put in the high... It's weird how when you get, obviously if you got a super fancy, rich, wealthy person apartment, right? First of all, you're choosing your own... fixtures.
Yeah, those apartments and condos tend to come with nothing.
They're coming with an interior decorator, right? And choosing your own shit. But most apartments, even luxury ones, right? The fixtures that come with the apartment are usually like not as cheap as hotel fixtures,
but not much better than hotel.
But only like one, because they're going to get a lot more use than hotel fixtures. But basically, only one level better.
So I learned something interesting.
If you're someone who lives in who doesn't have a lot of money and lives in some cheapy house in the suburbs or rural place, your fixtures are actually probably pretty damn good compared to the ones in like a luxury apartment in the city that costs like twice the mortgage.
And I think that part of that is just because, like, when I got this apartment, I didn't even look at the whole apartment before I said yes and signed the lease, because I was so desperate to find an apartment.
Well, I mean, I looked, and it's like sometimes they'll splurge on the appliances, like the stoves and fridges, that sort of thing.
This building splurged on, we are next to like 7 subways.
Right, but it's like when you build,
Nothing else
you're
matters.
a developer, you build a building, you got, maybe 100 units, or who knows how many fucking units in there. Right, and you got to put the
I want to say there's 140 in our building.
Right, is you want to put in all these, you got to buy, whatever you got to buy, stoves, you got to buy times that many units plus extras in case something goes wrong, right? And if it's something like the heating units, you got to buy 2 or 3 per apartment, right? Times the number of units.
And they've already replaced 2 of our heating units.
Right, it's like you're placing like a bulk ass order for hundreds of things. So how many bathroom cabinets are you buying? 500 bathroom cabinets?
Yeah.
It's like you don't want to buy a bathroom cabinet that costs $500, because then you're spending $25,000 on bathroom cabinets. You want to buy a $50 one.
Yep. Especially when in New York City, someone like me is going to buy the apartment primarily because of its specific address.
You're not gonna say, "Oh, I'm not coming to this apartment. The cabinet's cheap."
Yep.
Right?
Like the countertop is just for mica. Like WTF? Don't care.
Right, you can get one with less solid wood, more poorly constructed. It's got to look nice.
Yep.
It doesn't matter, how someone's not going to be like, "Oh man, this kitchen floor is kind of like a crappy kind of floor material. I ain't moving in here."
The only things this building
not the make or
splurged
break
on
factor.
when they built the building, because we moved in when it was built, they ran fiber to every apartment from the Meet Me room and a bunch of other stuff. And the soundproofing in this building is like terrifyingly effective.
Well, yeah, pretty much every building, the new building, the soundproofing is fantastic.
I can play my trumpet in the middle of the night. I can play DDR. I don't hear shit.
Yeah.
You can only hear.
I only heard shit. I only hear shit from the hallway because the door is right.
It's like a hotel.
You have an alcove, but I just have a door right against an open room.
Yeah, that would be way.
Right?
Where I have that
because you have that little tiny hallway entryway that blocks some of the hallway noise.
I actually picked this apartment partly because of the alcove and the pseudo foyer.
Right.
That
Well,
we had.
also my door is right in front of the elevator,
and I've decided I'm
there's
going to
more
stop.
activity outside the door.
As much as it pains me, I'm going to stop saying foyer because I realized something important.
What's wrong with foyer?
The vast majority of Americans have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
Oh,
if
I
say
thought you
foyer.
were going to say that foyer had a racist etymology.
No.
I was like, is there some
Most Americans-
is there some history of the word foyer that it should not be used? I was like,
That's a fair fear because I remember, and I won't say the word, but I remember in RIT when I was reading a book on bartending and it explained a certain kind of bar. And suddenly I realized that a very commonly used word was in fact a racial slur. And I was like, Scott, guess what's a racial slur? And you were like, what? Oh shit. And we both stopped saying that word.
yeah. Just the other day, I was I'm not going to talk about it because it's not that much to open.
Yeah.
But I've been shopping to replace one of my pairs of shoes, and I was on a site and there was a shoe and the name of the shoe was Prison Boot, and I was not 100% comfortable with the name of that shoe.
Prison guard boot?
No,
or
it just said Prison Boot.
Huh.
Like that was, how every company names all their shoes.
I mean, I guess it's a prison.
Like
for your
Nike will
feet.
be like, this is the Nike Free, right?
Yep.
Or this is the
I run a
this
Nike
is the
Freeze.
Adidas, Stan Smith or whatever. Every shoe has a name, right? Well, this company named their shoe. This is the Prison Boot.
I don't know. I've never heard of the phrase prison boot before. Seems like it's a style of boot.
It's the name of a specific boot model.
Oh, it's a specific boot model from Fry. I used to wear some Fry boots. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I was like, that's not the greatest name.
Yeah.
Probably change that name.
So there's a whole bunch of news and geek bites and stuff, so we'll pick a few things. First off, kind of random aside, but since we saw Ride Your Wave last night, we saw a bunch of trailers to a bunch of other animated features, and apparently Studio 4C has an anime movie that's already in theaters. We could go see it at the same theater in Astoria tonight if we wanted to. Children of the Sea, thus making a triptych of 3 water anime movies in recent memory.
Have I seen Children of the Sea or
No, it's brand new.
Oh, okay.
It came out in 2019 in May, and in a Tokyo premiere. Later in June it premiered in the rest of Japan. It's only recently in the U.S. and I think it's a GKids thing.
Okay.
But it's about some kids who one kid was raised by dugongs and there's water imagery.
Oh, I did see a trailer for that. Yeah.
You saw that trailer with me last night. We talked about this trailer.
Oh, okay.
Do you not? What happened last night? What's your name? What year is it, Scott?
Okay.
We watched this trailer last night.
I might have seen it at the previous anime showing I went to. Which
It looks really good. The animation style looks different and beautiful. Apparently, it's based on a manga. It's won some awards. Maybe I'll go see it this weekend. It's just at the theater, right there. I don't know if it's good, but it looks like the kind of anime I would like. You got anything?
Yeah, so we were watching some anime. We watched one episode of the show that was on Crunchyroll, and the show was called Science Fell in Love, so I tried to prove it. And, this show, I didn't know what it was about, other than what I could guess from the title. I guess it's based on a manga. Looking at the cover of the manga, I'm like, yeah, I guess the anime is a good, accurate adaptation of the manga. What it's about is basically there are these scientists. I can't really tell what kind of scientists they are. I guess they're researchers at a university.
I guess they're love scientists. They are some anime-looking motherfuckers.
It looks like they're researchers at a university. But basically, at the very beginning of the show, right, is the dude is sitting at the computer doing work. And then the girl who's got large boobs that are not, I guess, revealed, though. But they're large.
Warning sign.
Yeah. And has a clearly, sexual design. I guess the dude is supposed to be sexy, too.
I guess there's a bear.
I don't know. Anyway, oh yeah, the stuffed bear is a character.
Okay.
But I did not in episode 1. It's sort of like the mascot character. But anyway, in the first episode, they're basically talking in a very sort of that contrived anime way, right? Where like real people don't talk this way. They're all like sort of like the way L talks in Death Note, right? Right? Only where L is doing detective logic talk, they're doing science talk, right? And that's the only way they ever talk, right? So, they're talking science to each other, and they clearly have some, belligerent attitudes towards each other. And then the girl is like, confesses that she loves the dude. And the rest of the entire first episode is them continuing to do their contrived science talk and attempting to experiment and prove and quantify love to determine if they're really in love or not, empirically.
That sounds like a very sea anime plot.
That appears to be the plot of not just episode 1, but literally the entire show. And then there are other characters.
I think the two dudes also get okay.
Maybe, but there was only one other character in the first episode, and that character was like a common sense person.
Yeah.
So it's like they're both. It's like all the side characters are all the straight men, at least, the one straight characters, and the two main characters are the messed up ones who are like science, right?
Yeah.
Who are being weird. Especially the dude. The dude is the weirdest. You get the idea that maybe the girl actually understands and is just trying to, get with the dude. Anyway.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know who this is for. I guess if you have this kind of particular science romance fantasy, I don't know. Right? It's like I don't know.
I know it's just like it sounds the way you're describing it like it isn't that funny.
It's not the worst. I guess it's funny to somebody. I've seen worse and I've seen better.
So I don't need to watch it to review it.
No, it's a really formulaic kind of, mass machine produced anime, right?
All right.
But I don't know.
See, this is the kind of show that we watch.
I didn't know it existed. Now I know it does.
Maybe we'll start every now and then I watch one episode of a show to see if it's even worth reviewing, and if it's not, I usually just don't even say anything.
This would have gotten probably a bunch of excitement and laughs at an anime club showing for younger people.
I would. This feels like the kind of thing I'd show an episode of at Anime Club.
Right, but yeah, no.
All right. So in some better news, Sheera, the Princesses of Power, 4th season ended.
It's 4 seasons now. Okay,
it's real good.
Right.
It's Terrible Secret of Space plot, precursor tech. There's.
Right.
I think you'll actually really like this show.
Mm.
But
well, I mean, He-Man. It's for as bad as He-Man is, right? He-Man itself is about precursor tech. Where the fuck did this castle come from?
Dude, if they did
right?
a modern He-Man remake in this style, I would be all about that.
Right, because He-Man, Prince, whatever, they live in some fancy kind of future-y castle somewhere else, right? Castle Grayskull is this weird thing from an ancient past. It's like a Stonehenge. Where the fuck did this come from? We don't understand it. Right? It's
So as a kid, I watched both She-Ra and He-Man. And
I watched He-Man. I don't remember if I watched She-Ra.
They are canonically in the same universe, but
yes.
Well, technically not, because the planet She-Ra's on went to another dimension and there's stuff.
Okay, but the point is, I didn't remember anything of them other than what the characters looked like from my childhood because I had toys. And then
Fisto, Stinkor.
Right, at college, at some point, I watched
Arms.
one He-Man episode I downloaded from a file sharing network.
I think I dressed up as Man at Arms once for Halloween.
And then I remembered how bad. And then I was like, "Oh, this wasn't actually good. I just had nostalgia for this thing I didn't remember." And then I stopped caring about He-Man forever.
But all I'm going to say, I won't spoil anything, but having seen all the She-Ra there is to see as of now, all 4 seasons that are out from the new She-Ra, it just gets better and better and better, and it is a fantastic show.
Are they going to stop making it?
It ended on a point where there will definitely be more. Basically, Grand Admiral Thrawn, the character is basically Thrawn, has now shown up, and it's Star Wars Terrible Secret of Space. The precursor technology has been explained. We know the deal with it, and now it's moving into the final plot.
Is Admiral Thrawn the old He-Man bad guy?
Hordak?
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil
I forgot
anything.
his name, but that's definitely him.
It's the skull-looking guy who is
the guy who's not Skeletor. He's actually sort of like
who stole the baby from King Randor, Princess Adora.
Right. He's basically sort of actually like above Skeletor in like evilness and badness.
He's more competent than Skeletor. He's more evil than Skeletor.
Right. He's sort of like the Unicron to Skeletor's Megatron.
So this gets into that in a Star Wars-y kind of way, and it's really interesting.
Yeah, he's sort of like the Emperor to Skeletor's Darth Vader.
So Hordak is like a full power level above Skeletor, and in this show, Hordak is himself nothing more than a precursor boss to a square boss that is like a Mega Hordak.
Uh-huh.
And the Mega Hordak
is Thrawn?
Hot and Thrawny.
Oh, okay.
Like, this character, now that I've seen this character, holy shit.
How do they compare to Sexy Pirate Man?
I'd say 70%.
Okay.
60 to 70%. Hordak himself is pretty hot too, but in a more like tortured
Hordak
way.
is not hot. Hordak is like a gross ass.
Yeah, you get to see Hordak not in his suit. Hordak's hot and kind of sad.
Oh, okay.
The villain.
That would be like saying like the Emperor is hot. Like what?
Basically,
the Emperor is a shriveled thing in a rag.
All the villains in She-Ra are hot.
Okay.
And half of them join the good guys.
So they're redesigned.
But also
original Hordak is not hot.
Yes, this Hordak pretty hot.
Original Hordak is like like a pro wrestler body with a scary face on.
Oh, and there's a character Double Trouble.
Not in a good lucha way.
Double Trouble is also pretty hot. I don't know what I'm telling you about this show, but almost everyone is hot. You should watch this show.
Okay.
So I also watched the first bit of Keepo and the Age of Wonder Beasts, which is a
never heard of this.
I don't know how you didn't.
Why would I hear of it?
DreamWorks Television animated series.
I thought DreamWorks only made movies. So that's news to me too.
Okay, it's on Netflix.
Okay,
it's very Adventure Time adjacent, but it's also kind of Fallout adjacent. Adventure Time is also Fallout adjacent, so it makes a nice triangle there. It is plausible that this show basically, like, spiritually takes place in the intervening years between the apocalypse and Adventure Time and when Adventure Time takes place.
Well, Adventure Time is a multi-universe universe, so it could happen in an alternate Adventure Time universe that was simply not shown in... Right?
The plot is basically this. It starts in media res. This girl falls out of basically a vault into the post-apocalyptic world, and she's totally cool and like, oh, shit, I gotta get back into the vault. Oh, you mean
Fallout Vault, not Bank Vault.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she's like, oh, shit, how do I get back into my vault?
Oh, it closed behind her?
Yeah, sort of. It's complicated.
Oops.
She doesn't know where it is.
You can't get back in the vault in Fallout either.
Yeah, so she wants to get back into the vault, and she's in the outside world, and she's like, oh, I didn't just die. Maybe the outside world isn't so bad, and it's full of dangerous monsters. And the thing I'll say that recommends the show the most is that the voice acting is like A++ voice acting. It's really good.
Like it stands out above normal good voice acting?
It stands out above normal good voice acting.
Who are the voice actors?
I didn't even look.
Okay.
I'm saving it because I feel like you should watch some of the show.
I feel like if they're so good, we should give them props.
I think we should. Well, but we're going to review the show for real. It's just a geek bite.
Am I?
I will if you don't.
I don't know if I will.
So last and least, this is news, but we don't actually care about the news. We care about one sentence in this news.
Right. So we still like Anime Boston, the convention.
It's in the top 2 anime cons in the U.S.
that we've been to.
I would argue it's pretty safe to say it's in the top
Boston,
2.
If you look at the schedule, if you look at the programming,
they bring the best guests. They bring good Japanese guests. The panels are great.
The way it's run.
The staff are great.
It's run relatively well compared to other cons. It is way up there in terms of Anime Con goodness. Having been to it several times, right? But I haven't been in quite a while. But when we went, our biggest complaint wasn't something that had to do with the convention staff and the people running the con or anything.
It was with the city of Boston.
Right. It was that the security at Anime Boston was a huge hassle. PAX East also has this problem.
But at Anime Boston, for a lot of reasons, we're not going to get into it. There are factors that make it compounded to the point that it is an order of magnitude more a pain in the ass at Anime Boston than at PAX East.
Yes. However, at Anime Boston, the Heinz Convention Center, where only the first PAX East was held. Then PAX East moved to a different convention center in the same city, but Anime Boston is still held in the Heinz.
Which is way too small.
Which is directly, physically attached at the hip to a Sheraton hotel. All right? So there is, if you are wise, a quote secret entrance. If you go into the Sheraton Hotel and go up to like
the third floor,
second or third floor,
it's the third floor
near where the blood donating thing is.
Look for Hall C,
where at least where it used to be. Who knows where it is now? They always have a blood donation thing in Anime Boston.
And there is basically a secret entrance to the con.
There's a tiny hallway, and at the end of the tiny hidden hallway that feels like you're going nowhere. You're going like the back of a hotel ballroom or something. There's a door that goes right into the back of the artist alley of Anime Boston.
And like most
they
attendees,
actually smartly and greatly kept a security guard there so that you could have your shit checked there. And almost no one would use this entrance.
It was super, like, it wasn't secret.
Because no one knew about it.
And even if you, like, until you get past it, it does not look like it will get you into the con.
Right. But yeah, you could just go into the con that way instead of going out into the world and going in the main entrance or anything like that, or waiting any lines. So we would always use that entrance to go in and out of the con at all times, and that would work as long as Artist Alley was still open.
So Anime Boston's moving the Artist Alley and the Dealer's Room, making a whole bunch of very good-looking changes.
Right, so the changes they're making, they explain why they're making them, and they're for good reason, right? So the the Dealer's Room, right, people want to like hang stuff from the ceiling and shit, and the room where the Dealer's Room currently is has a lower ceiling, so they can't do ceiling hanging stuff. And there's plenty of room. So
another credit to Anime Boston, just to like, they explain when they make big decisions like this.
Yeah,
like,
if you want to look as an example, if you're running any sort of organization and you're making a big change that might upset people, this is how you make the press release to announce it. They fully explain not only what they're doing in great detail with not leaving any information out, but also their entire reasoning and explanation of why they're doing it without keeping any secrets. They're very open, right?
But
which is I approve of.
8 paragraphs in,
The final paragraph.
There is a single sentence, quote, of final note. The Heinz Halsey entrance
Way to bury the lead.
from the Sheraton third floor will now be closed.
Right, because the Artist Alley is now in a different place, and now that secret entrance goes right into the dealer's room. Well, you can't have people just come into the dealer's room at crazy-ass hours or directly from the hotel in a secret back entrance. That opens up for shoplifting and all sorts of problems for the exhibitors. You can't be having that. So, because that's now dealer's room area, rip secret entrance.
Which, I mean, it sucks, but we've already kind of stopped going to Anime Boston, and as much as we loved it, it was solely because of that security. Like, it was just too much
But
to deal
if we
with.
had still been going to Anime Boston,
this might have been the reason we would have stopped.
This might have been a very tiny broken straw that, not for most people who, really want,
reasonable people. We're talking like us trying to lug like 2 giant cameras and a whole bunch of panel shit into the
for
con
us, not
5
being
or
able
6
to use that
times.
secret entrance, having to go in the main entrances with all their lines and having to go outside and then inside again.
Yep.
That hassle would have been, if we were still going, this announcement would make us no longer go, even though everything else having to do with this announcement is, I think, a smart, correct move for them.
Yeah, 100%.
Just that one side effect is, annoying, and we are intolerant of that sort of thing.
I mean, if I'm walking toward lunch just like on a random day, at like just in my daily life, if I go up to a place I want to get lunch at and it looks like there's more than a 30 or 40 second line, I'll just keep walking until I find a place that has a line under a minute. Like, I won't wait any amount of time to eat food.
Yep.
But anyway, things of the day. I did not know this gentleman existed. I don't know if I've even ever heard his name, because as much as I was deep into music, like, I don't pay attention to contemporary conductors, composers that much, any of that stuff.
Yeah, I go on Spotify, and if I want to listen to classical music, what I do is I find a classical song or composer that I like.
Oh, and make a station?
And I right-click on it, and I say play song radio or play artist radio.
Yep.
And then I don't look at what actually is playing, even though I might recognize things that, show up.
Yep. But there is a Dutch Baroque specialist named Pieter Jan.
All Dutch things of the day today?
Yeah, I guess. We didn't coordinate this. Pieter Jan Lusink. And he is known for having a, quote, singular conducting style.
I have seen many conductors with singular conducting styles.
I've never seen
I don't think I have seen this one, but I have seen several. That seems to be a thing with conductors, is some of them like to be, sort of like how some baseball pitchers have a wild throwing motion.
Yep.
Same kind of deal.
As much as I hate watching baseball, I love watching weirdo pitchers.
I always loved. You ever play Bases Loaded for the NES?
Yeah, sidearm.
Almost every pitcher would throw normally. Some would throw sidearm, but then there would be a few that would throw crazy.
Yeah.
It's like, whee!
But this guy's conducting style is amazing and crazy. But what I want to point out, because I actually am, it's been a while, but I took a lot of classes on conducting, both orchestral conducting and field conducting. Like, I'm a trained conductor. This style of conducting.
When's the last time you conducted anything?
I mean, it's been. The last time I conducted anything was in the year 1999.
Yeah, I mean, I had like CPR training, like, 15 to 20 years ago, but I'm not going to go. And at one point, I was, a trained whatever.
So I could still
I would not make that claim today.
I could easily conduct a marching arrangement. However, I do not have anything in a.
You believe you could.
I'm confident I could.
You're confident you could.
Partly because that style of conducting requires a lot less nuance, and you don't even need to know the song, really, to make it work, compared to orchestral conducting, which I would need a lot of preparation to be able to do that in even like a baby's first competency way.
We gotta know the song first.
But watching this guy, the one thing I will say, he has this style, as crazy as it looks. Like, I just want to say, because I saw a lot of people on Twitter being like, does this actually help? Like, could you actually use this guy? Yeah, you could conduct, you could play to this guy. His ictus is like A+. And ictus is all you need. Ictus and form. That's it. That's all you need. You're a great conductor. What do you got?
I mean,
unless you want to talk about conducting more.
No, we're enough conducting. So another Dutch thing of the day. There's a thing you may have heard of. It is the Dutch Headwind Cycling Championships, and basically the way it works is
Oostered shell deckering.
right in the Dutch land. Right, they have this very long bridge that also serves as a seawall.
Oh no, it's the Tengen Windfeisten.
Right, it's a very long bridge that also serves as a seawall to keep from getting flooded. Right, and there's also a bunch. It's a very windy place. And what they do is they set up this cycling championship I think they actually. I don't even think it has like a specific day and time. I think they they wait for like the windiest time, and then they're like, okay, everyone, they send out the message like, it's happening tomorrow, let's go. All right? And like, it's like a short notice kind of deal. I think, I'm not sure, but anyway, the way the competition works is everyone gets the same lame ass normal one gear, everyday bike. You're not bringing like road bikes here.
Yeah, because
right?
if I was gonna do this myself, I would basically bring a mountain bike with its tiny little baby gears.
Right. And you have to bike straight into the super hard wind. Even though it's flat, you're biking into some crazy wind. It's ridiculously difficult.
I think you made this a thing of the day like a decade ago.
It's possible.
But we've never had such high quality video and explanation before.
Here's a great video of it, the most recent one. Great explanation, right? It's very short. You won't get bored watching this video. It's not even 10 minutes long, I don't think, right? But it tells you everything.
It's 2 minutes long.
It tells you everything you need to know.
The amazing thing about it is like they can't even get going.
Right. But I think I read a story that like this year there was like a storm coming, and they were like, hey everyone, come on, cycling, headwind cycling, and then it was too strong. And they had to be like, no, we're calling it too strong. Right? I don't know if this was them trying again later, or if this event somehow ended, right? It was cut short. But yeah.
See, this is one of those things, like I love the idea of it, but more importantly, I love the idea of watching someone else struggle with this kind of problem.
Oh yeah,
I have zero. Riding into the wind is one of my least favorite things on earth.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, there was also a thing of the day very, very long time ago. There's a competition in Pittsburgh. I don't know if it's a full bike race or but there's a basically I think there might be a San Francisco one also where there's just like a ludicrously steep hill. And I think it's like cobblestones too. It's like fuck you hill, the worst possible hill to bike up.
Yep.
Right. And
I feel like that's another one where the way to cheat is get a nice mountain bike and just go straight up, no problems.
Right, but it's like people are still just struggling to go up the hill, zigzagging, not moving, falling over.
You need one of those mountain bikes where like the front gear is tiny and the back gear is huge, and you're just like weeka the whole way.
Yeah, bring a special bike just to go up the hill.
Yep.
But even that, it's like even if you could, turn the crank. Right, you basically have to lean, like, to go up that hill, you have to basically lean all the way over the front handlebars.
Oh yeah, when I mountain bike
like
and
you
I'm
have to be
climbing,
like Mito Tsuji, like
when I'm mountain biking and I'm climbing a steep hill, I'm basically standing forward, like way over my handlebars.
Oh, yeah.
And the bike's below me, and there's no seat. Like you hit a button to make the seat disappear.
But that's the thing is you need that weight on the front, so you don't just flip over backwards. Right. But you also, if you don't have any weight on the back, that pedaling ain't doing nothing. You're just pedaling a rear wheel in the air. So
just get a bike that pedals the front wheel instead.
Unicycle, you mean? That's not going to get up a hill.
No, I mean a normal bike, but have the pedal the front wheel.
2-wheel drive bike. Has that been made?
Ooh, I wonder if that's been made. I'll look that up later. So
I think that might be dangerous.
In the meta moment, the Geek Nights Book Club book is the Tale of Genji. I am continuing to learn how kind of douchey Genji is.
I just read all about Genji trying to hit on this lady and failing, even though he's way hot.
The more I read Genji, I don't know if it's just because I saw Urusei Yatsura and read it first and now I'm reading Genji or the other way around, but Genji reminds me of the main character from Urusei Yatsura. Like,
but Genji's not stupid and failing at shit.
That guy's actually not that stupid. And when he fails, it's not actually even his own fault, and he's not even like ugly or anything.
Well, Genji doesn't have bad luck.
Yeah,
right?
Genji's not have bad luck.
Urusei Yatsura is about him having bad luck.
Yeah.
Genji doesn't have bad luck. Genji, in fact, has astonishingly good luck.
But Genji
he's just born into luck.
Is as lecherous as Ataru.
Oh, he is lecherous.
He
yes.
is.
But it seems like all the men are lecherous.
True, but Genji,
almost all of them.
I love like the scenes where like they talk
the
about.
Emperor actually seems the Emperor has many ladies.
Yeah.
The Emperor is actually not really lecherous, right?
Yeah.
Compared
to any other male character we interact with in this book
the
so
ones
far.
who are like, I'm married to this lady, I was with this other one, but
Yep.
I let her go, and I got this other one. It's like, whoa.
But like I finish a chapter and then I like look at the notes again and it's like blah blah blah, the implied attempted an affair between Genji and so and I'm like, what? I didn't even catch that one. Otherwise, we'll be live at PAX East, which is coming up real quick
next week. So today is Thursday, but this is a Wednesday episode.
Yep.
Right? Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So less than
Wednesday,
7
I'm
days.
doing a half day at work and I'm taking the train
on
to
Wednesday,
Boston.
I'm doing a half day at work and going to Boston. And then we'll be there until Sunday. And then I guess Monday back to work.
Basically, our whole crew. I'm not going to work on Monday.
Mm.
I'm staying in Boston Monday night or Sunday night.
Oh yeah, but I'm still gonna come back home Monday morning.
Yeah, I'm not going to come home and go straight to work. If that noise.
No, I'm gonna work from home or whatever.
Nah, I'll just take the day
I'm
off.
not gonna waste a vacation day.
But I guess I could work from home. We'll see how I do. I think I'm taking a later train home, though. I'm taking like an 11 a.m. train.
I will, quote, work from home.
Yeah. But we will be on Saturday at 11:30 a.m. in the Bumblebee Theater, which seats over 600 people. We will be presenting a repeat panel with minor tweaks. Take your fucking turn. If you are listening to this, you do not need to go to this panel because a version that is 90% the same as what we're going to do at PAX East is on YouTube already from when we premiered this at PAX Unplugged.
Yeah, we're not even going to bring video and record it to go on YouTube because it's already on YouTube.
So, but that does mean if we deviate significantly or something funny happens, there will be no record of that, but
Oh, no, you're going to waste an hour of your PAX just in case, like, we make...
Just in case, like, my pants fall down?
Spontaneously make one joke that I didn't make it unplugged. Why do I have hiccups suddenly?
But if you have a friend who perhaps should take their turn and you want to punish them, tell them to go to our panel. And then at the end of the panel, we're going to tell everybody, you could have just watched this on YouTube. You just wasted an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So you will both punish them for not taking their turn, and maybe they will listen to us and start taking their turn. So ride your wave.
All right, so we got another one. It seems like these days we just keep watching a lot of things from the same people, right?
Well, because Yuasa is cranking out way too much content.
Right, okay, so here's the thing, right? So if you look at the top anime directors, right? You got your Miyazaki Ghibli.
Yep.
You got your Hosoda.
You had the
got your
Satoshi Kon.
Shinkai, right? Hosoda's putting out one every 3 years. Miyazaki and Ghibli are putting out one every century.
Yep.
Right? How often, but the point is, Masaki Yuasa and Science Saru are cranking out not just TV shows, but also movies at a shocking rate. So this movie came out in Japan months ago. but finally made its way to the U.S. one night only in U.S. theaters, some subtitles, thanks to G-Kids, of course.
Yep.
And I said, well, I guess I have to go see that.
Yep.
So even though it feels like we just talked about Walk On Girl.
And also, we not that long ago reviewed another movie that has very, very, very similar
Oh, yeah,
themes.
Lou Over the Wall, right?
Lou
So
Over the Wall, which
right.
was also Yuasa.
Right, and had the same producer as this, right? So there was Lou Over the Wall, Walk On Girl, and this. Bang, bang, bang. It's like, it feels like those movies are coming way too fast from the studio.
Yep, and just to remind you, before this, because I want to go through some of these. Ping Pong the Animation, 2014. Adventure Time,
Oh, yeah, I
one
didn't watch
episode of
that
Food
yet.
Chain, 2014. Space Dandy, 2014. And then a gap, because that's when they founded Science Saru. And then Night of Short Walk On Girl, 2017. Lure Over the Wall, also 2017. Devilman Crybaby, Baby, 2018.
Well, I think they only did one episode of Space Dandy, right?
Director, writer, animation supervisor, and storyboard for the episode Slow and Steady
Right.
Wins
It
the
was
Race,
sort
baby.
of it was like Adventure Time, where there was one episode that was
Yep.
totally insane that was by them. But Yuasa did like one crazy episode. Anyway,
So this movie, just the short version is, it is absolutely worth seeing. It is a fantastic movie. It is extremely well executed, and I have very few complaints about it.
yeah, I mean, there's nothing at the same time. While that is all true, it's also not like, oh my god, it's the best movie ever. It's a legendary, right?
Yeah.
It's like great. It's between good and great, right? But I guess maybe it is great, but not legendary great.
But what I would say is
like
that
regular great.
for what it is, because the story it told was a relatively straightforward story. Like, there
Oh,
are
yeah.
no surprises in
Right,
this
so I
movie.
read the synopsis, right? And this is not spoiler, right, for the movie at all, because all this stuff happens super early in the movie.
And
right?
also, you can figure this out from the teaser trailer.
Right, so this is the synopsis of the movie is, okay, there's some, 20-somethings that live in like a beach town, right?
The girl's a pro surfer.
The girl is like basically a pro surfer. The dude is a fireman. They fall in love. The dude dies. And then it becomes a situation like that, movie Ghost with Whoopi
Yep.
Goldberg and those other people, right? Where the dude's a ghost with the pottery,
But
right?
I'm
That's-
surprised that of all the headlining actors and actresses you might have said as Ghost, the movie with, I was surprised you said Whoopi Goldberg.
Yeah, because that's a recognizable person.
There's
The main two people were just generic Hollywood hot people. I don't remember their names, and I wouldn't recognize them on the street.
don't
But Whoopi Goldberg is a recognizable, unique individual.
You don't remember who Patrick Swayze is?
I know that's the name of a famous person, but if he walked into this room right now and said, "What is my name?" I would say, "I have no fucking clue."
If Patrick Swayze walked into this room right now, unless he looks radically different from old age or something, I would be like, wow, it's Patrick Swayze.
I would say, "You're an unusually hot person. Are you a Hollywood actor of some kind, maybe, or famous person?" But I don't know your name. And you'd say, "I'm Patrick Swayze." I'd be like, "I know that name. That is the name of a famous person." And then I'd say, "You were in things. What were you in?" "Ghost." "Oh, I've seen that." Okay.
But to put out like a broader, again, the whole movie is just her sort of processing his death, basically,
Yes.
with a little bit of magical realism that does not necessarily need to be real. It could just be in her head, though there's a fun little nod at the end to make it clear there's a little bit of magic going on. But the movie is exactly what I expected it to be, except the execution was so good that I actually want to bring it a lot of praise and point out a lot of very specific things I think it did well.
Right. So usually the other Yuasa Science Saru works, right, are usually sort of, plot-wise and character-wise really out there and
Like
crazy.
Night is Short, Walk On Girl, I defy you to summarize the events of that movie succinctly.
Right. Tatami Galaxy, which has the same characters basically, is also, it's just completely like out there, kind of trippy and nutty. Right? Devilman Crybaby, that shit is fucked up and insane, right?
Yep.
This is really, plot-wise and character-wise, much more in line with a very, down-to-earth kind of anime.
Yep.
Right? More in line with a plot you would see from Hosoda.
Though,
right?
but what really interested me is that there's actually a pretty good number of characters for how sort of zoomed in.
Some
the
of them
show.
have almost no screen time.
But the characters that get screen time are surprisingly nuanced characters.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of the things I thought, oh, I guess that's gonna happen. That person will date that person. None of those things happened.
Oh, everything I thought would happen happened.
Well, the one thing I predicted very specifically was the sister and like her deal.
Yeah.
I picked that one up pretty early, and I was glad that other firemen did not date a different character.
Yeah.
Because that's a direction a more pedestrian version of this movie would have gone.
Well, that's Wool.
Yeah. But not the problem, but the interesting thing about this movie is that it's so soon after Lure Over the Wall, and both this and Lure Over the Wall.
Lure Over the Wall, another completely crazy one.
But they both, in many ways, tell a very similar story, and they're both about using water as a metaphor for the threshold of death and
Right,
transformation.
the central plots of both movies, even though one's a children's movie and one is, a more adult, not completely adult, but a more adult romance movie, maybe like a teenage romance movie, maybe, call it right, is that they're both about people dying at sea.
Yep, but
right?
Lure
As
Over
like
the Wall,
central to the,
Lure Over the Wall was more about water, and the mermaids were the metaphor for, on one hand, the ostensibly suicidal feelings of the main character, coupled with like the processing of death, coupled with the death of like ideas and culture and like the old way that town was and how things change as time goes on and the past dies eventually. This one is very literally the death of one person and the reverberations, or dare I say, the waves that person made both metaphorically and literally in the world, and how that affected the people around them.
And then, also about the people riding those waves, right?
Yep,
Which is why the name of the movie comes from.
Yep, and
it's not really subtle with its message.
Yep,
right?
but the movie,
it's not to the point where sometimes there are movies where or any kind of storytelling medium where their message is so sort of told so ham-fistedly and overtly that it's inelegant, right? Here it is overt, right, to where they literally just spell it out for you.
It's one of the rare movies that can get away with saying the name of the movie and
right,
it doesn't sound stupid.
Right, it's like you need to ride your wave to do that, right? But they do it in a way that doesn't feel sort of tacked on or like uncomfortable, right? Like it feels like natural, and it's just like, it's just not, it's it's like, okay, you didn't really do this in a tacky way, you just did it in a way to where there's no way the audience can miss it.
Yep. But at the same time, what I really appreciate about this movie is how much it trusted the audience to notice things, and how a lot of the subtle things that happened in the movie were not spelled out, and it assumed that you would notice these little bits.
Anime does that a lot in general.
Yeah.
But in particular, this one is at one point there's a large time skip, right? And then there are several, you don't really know what happened in that time, and it doesn't matter too much, but there are references or tiny flashbacks to things that, it's not a super long time skip, but it's long enough. There are tiny flashbacks to events that happened in the time skip, or characters will reference things that happened in the time skip, but they didn't show you those things. So it's like, it's like if I went to Rim and said, hey, remember the time something happened? And the time something happened was not in the movie yet.
Yep.
Right? It happened during a time in the movie that got ignored, but it's still okay, right? It totally works.
Yep. The other interesting thing is, and it seems like this is a Science Saru thing, they hyper-researched like the details of the things they were portraying to the point that like there's a lot of very detailed, long-running shots of firefighting techniques and firefighting equipment that is like accurate to a shocking degree. The surfing is also extremely accurate. The life-saving techniques, tiny little bits. Like there's two different scenes where someone like takes an unconscious person and flips him onto a surfboard or a raft.
Right.
That's that's a technique you learn in life-saving.
Right.
That, like,
I think because, like I was saying, this one is much more grounded in the real world compared to their other works, right? Compared to, say, like Lure Over the Wall, right? So therefore, even though I'm sure they researched things for those other works as thoroughly, right? Say, for example, like there was like a bicycle episode of Tatami Galaxy. I'm sure that they researched bicycles for that. But because this is much more grounded in the real world, the real world matching research shines through. It's like you can see that they put that work into it when you watch the movie, rather than whereas they might have done it for other things, but it's less visible and obvious.
I mean, it was weird for me because like I am a son of a fireman, and I spent a lot of time around firefighting equipment as a kid, and part of my brain was like, that part's accurate. That's a Japanese only thing. That's like this class of fire hydrant.
Well,
versus
when
other
we
class.
talk about anime, we talk a lot about, at least on the Judge anime show, which will come back eventually.
the guns.
We talk about guns. It's like, hey, you're reading some manga, you're watching some anime, and that gun is just drawn in exquisite detail, right? It's like, well, the person who made this clearly likes guns, and it's clearly about the guns, right? Or
Yup.
and the guns could be anything, right? In Initial D, the cars are the guns.
Yup.
Right? Well, in this, there are several guns in this movie, right? And I think the biggest one is coffee. Coffee is
Oh
the
my
biggest
God.
gun in this movie. They're basically constantly drawing the process of making coffee. And firefighting is also a gun.
Yep.
Right? But the detail in the drawing
and surfing and making omurice.
Yes, the detail in the drawings and animation of people making coffee in cafes, on the beach, in their homes, right, is not only so highly detailed and realistic, right, to sort of, appeal to coffee fanboys who, want to make coffee in a fancy way.
Yeah, well, that CO2
But
bloom.
they're always doing it the exact same way every time they do it, as like this, repeated, imagery to tie, various scenes together.
Because
right?
it's subtle, but it ties together the interest in the topic of how to make this kind of coffee, having like spread from person to person in parallel to all the other ideas that spread like waves among these people affecting each other.
Yep, yeah, because the dude who died was way into coffee.
Yep.
Right, and then everyone after he's dead, you see more coffee making than when he was alive.
But in terms of something that
And
you might not,
clearly meta think, right?
Yep.
There's clearly one or more people at the studio who are way into coffee and this coffee making process in particular.
Well, also from
they
the
definitely inserted it because there's coffee fan people at the studio.
from the interview with
Because
the
it could have been
producer,
anything. It could have been any.
Young Choi, the producer, they talked a lot about how much research Science Saru did for this movie in particular, and how like they got surfing lessons and life-saving lessons. I wouldn't be surprised if they like shadowed a fire department in a beach
I wouldn't be
town.
surprised if they went to several cafes.
Yep.
Right, to watch them make coffee.
And I guess like overall, because like it's an anime movie. Like just watch it. I'm not going to explain the rest of the plot to you. Other than that, it is deeply satisfying. It's extremely well animated. It's beautiful. It'll hit you right in the feels. I cried a few times during it.
Right. I think the other thing is that, like I was saying, it's not so as crazy, surreal, and unrealistic as the other works by Yuasa, but he still manages to put in his trademark art style, right, all over it. Like you can tell immediately who made it.
Yep.
Even though it's so different in many ways because of the way the characters move, the way the lines on the edge, the characters don't hold their same like solid shape.
Yep.
Right? They're sort of stretchy a little bit and wiggly. He always does a little bit of wiggliness, and the lines on the edge of the characters are. It's almost like they're thicker and thinner at the same time because they're sort of, they move a little bit, right? They're not,
Characters all have like pretty unique or interesting walk cycles, and like the way characters move is very tied to what they're about.
Yeah, and then, of course, his trademark thing of sort of moving the, it's not a real camera, but the virtual camera perspective, and also
when she's riding her bike,
right? He'll go low with wide angles or long crazy angle, right? All over the place, the way he does in a less realistic anime, right? But he's still doing that in this story that is mostly just real normal world stuff, right?
Yep.
But there's enough crazy stuff and magical stuff that you couldn't make this live action.
No.
Even though it's so you can make almost all of it live action, right? But then they just they go that extra mile. It's like, no, just kidding, you couldn't.
Well, like the ending scene of this movie, like the climax of the movie, to make that without animation would be that would
impossible.
It would be a practical effects effort on the level of like Back to the Future 2 or like a Star Wars.
Yeah, it would not be, doable.
That is one hell of a climax too. That was a
Yeah.
good scene.
Yeah.
So
kind of a little, stretches your disbelief a little bit, but that's all right.
I was totally down with the stretch of belief in that final scene, just because
I was like, all right, I see what you're gonna do here. Fine.
Yep.
It's like
in the interview when the producer was like,
I'll go.
"You
with
also
it.
explained what he wanted to happen at the end," and she was like, "What?"
Yeah, it's like,
What?
all right, I'll let you.
And then
get
he's like, "No," when he storyboarded, and she was like, "Oh."
Yeah, that was also interesting in the interview. We learned that, it's like, I always feel bad, when we talk about animes or mangas, right? Because in manga, always like one or two people get all the credits when I know there were a ton of assistants aren't getting any credit.
Yep.
And in anime and movies, and TV shows, there's a ton of fucking people working on those things. And we always just talk about like the one person, right?
Yep.
But she said in the post-credit interview that like, yeah, Yuasa draws 100% of the storyboards themselves.
Which I think Satoshi Kon was also that way.
Right, and it's like, oh, okay, I guess I can pretty much give you the credit for this whole fucking thing.
Yeah.
Right, as, obviously you're not fully responsible for every aspect of it, but in terms of, the overwhelming majority of the creative input was at your direction and from your mind. You are the primary auteur of this work by far.
But
so I will give you most of the credit for that, right?
But going further,
and not feel too bad. But
I felt this before, but now that the track record is basically batting 1,000, Science Saru is a really important force in anime.
Oh yeah, I still wonder if they're overworking their people,
but
more so, in the bad anime industry way.
But On Young made a really interesting
They said they have
point.
like less than 100 people.
They founded the studio basically to make that Adventure Time episode, and then they made everything. But all the things they made, they're rare in that they make both feature films and television.
Yep.
And she talked about how that's how they can have a development pipeline to give up-and-coming people in the animation industry the ability to try directing and try like someone can be the episode director for something and not risk ruining a movie.
Yeah, when you look at other anime studios, the vast majority of them seem to either be in the TV business or the movie business, and sometimes video game cutscene
But by
business,
having both,
right?
they're getting what
Right.
the anime industry started to lose in Japan. If you look at all the greats we talk about and you look at the works over their lives, they all started as key animation for episode 4 of Gundam.
Right, but it's I guess Madhouse made movies and TV shows.
Yeah.
Right, but it's Ghibli only makes movies. Is there a Ghibli TV show? I haven't seen one.
But she specifically pointed out that they do it because it lets them have the freedom to have their own internal development pipeline.
Right, it's you're some new person or you're lower in the totem pole. We're not going to let you make a movie, right? The movies are serious biz, but you can have a lot more creative input on the TV shows, right? I don't think, Yuasa is hand-drawing every storyboard for every TV episode.
Yeah,
right?
he'll trust someone else to draw a storyboard,
right, so
maybe.
So other people can express their ideas, something like a Tatami Galaxy or the new show that I watched one episode of that I'm going to watch
Keep
more
your hands off Eizouken.
Yeah, Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken's their new show, right? And it's there's a lot of opportunity for other creators in the studio to have a lot of creative input on those TV shows and prove that they're good enough and maybe then work on a movie later if they're, they stand out. But still, they said there's less than 100 people working there making all this stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like a...
So they got another film coming called Inuo. It's supposed to premiere in 2021. It doesn't even have a Wikipedia page yet.
Okay.
So maybe they're taking a little break now.
Is there any movie they made after Ride Your Wave?
Not according to
Okay.
Wikipedia.
Okay. And yeah, TV shows, they're making a ton, right?
Yep.
So there you go.
Science Saru, just keep an eye on them.
If you see Science Saru make anything, you should pretty much go see it. I haven't seen a bad thing that they've made.
I feel like if we were younger and still boisterous, kids going to anime cons, we'd be doing that Sophist dance around a con at least once.
Oh, the Sophist dance replacing the Naruto walk?
Yep.
The Naruto run, whatever. Yeah, I got to watch that again. I only saw that one time.
So go see this movie.
Mm.
Bam.
I don't know where you can see this movie.